So once you started Facilini, what was the first new innovations that you started to develop?
So the thing is, concrete is great for any kind of compressive loads. It's not particularly good for flexural loads. So that is the first sort of limitation that you have to overcome. So you have to figure out how to make this material less brittle. You have to figure out how to make this material more give it better sort of flexural strength. And obviously you can't look at conventional steel for a whole bunch of reasons. But I mean, essentially, if you go with a steel reinforcement, you need to increase the thickness of your concrete, and then your panel itself becomes very heavy. And so the trick is to kind of look at innovative ways of reinforcing your concrete and look at ways in which you can make the concrete stronger, lighter, thinner, kind of have your cake and eat it too, kind of thing. So that was that was the first thing we looked at. How do we make the panels bigger? Because that's basically what a lot of architects look for. They look for size. They look for a large panel for a facade. So yeah, and that was one of the first things we started working on.
And did you need to bring in outside help, or did you need to go somewhere else to start developing new techniques?
Yeah, so there is a lot of there's a lot of research that you do obviously on your own. A lot of this stuff is there online, but I think I got a lot of practical help in the US. Where I'd gone for the I've been attending the World of Concrete, which happens in the US. It's like this worldwide concrete expo. Happens every year. I make sure I go there at least once in 2 years. So there you come across lots of interesting people. You come across lots of interesting products as well. You literally get the best in engineering and material science from across the world. And you also, when you kind of talking to people there, you get ideas, and you try and understand what they're doing. And the nice thing is, you're meeting people who are casting concrete in the US. You're not direct competition to them. They're not direct competition to you. So it's actually very nice. I'm sure you would have experienced something similar when you talk to other photographers. It's actually lovely to talk about what you do to other people who do it.
Yes, absolutely.
You learn a lot in the process, and they may learn something from your experiences as well. And you invariably learn from the mistakes, right? So it just becomes easier when you're learning from other people's mistakes rather than your own.
That's true.
So I met a bunch of people there who I learned a lot from. In fact, I spent some time with one of them in North Carolina. I spent a lot of time at his studio. I mean, not his studio, basically at his workshop.
Oh, nice.
Where we were doing different types of concrete casting together, different types of mixes. And I was trying to understand what he was doing. He was trying to understand what I was doing. And many of these relationships have sustained even today. So even today, I bounce ideas off of all of these people that I met there. I discuss, I exchange ideas. I sometimes, throw a suggestion at them just to see, what their reaction is, or, if there's a problem. Because when you're designing, right, there is like one part of you that always has to think of what can be, and there is another part of you that always has to think of what can go wrong.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah.
And so the problem is that when you're only thinking of what can be, it's very difficult to kind of step back and think of what can go wrong. And so this is where, when you kind of have a good relationship and you're discussing an idea conceptually with someone, it helps if they say, yeah, you should, yes, you can do this, but you should look out for this and this.
Explaining
Or,
the pitfalls.
yes, you can. Exactly. So it's there's the, and that help is not only from the US. Obviously, there are a whole bunch of people in India also who have guided me tremendously. Architects, engineers who when they some of them, when they're involved in a discussion with you, irrespective of the topic of the discussion, you are enriched by the discussion itself, by the quality of the discussion, by the ideas that are being discussed. It helps you think of what you're doing very differently.
Yeah.
So,
So this must have helped you innovate with new concrete related ideas back home.
oh yeah, absolutely. So you look. So there is a bunch of stuff that works there, which is good for that country. It has to be adapted to what we do here. Something even as basic as temperature, it makes such a big difference to concrete.
Sure,
right?
absolutely.
So yeah, so I mean, everything has to be kind of modified based on the materials you get here, based on the cement you get here, based on the aggregates you get here, based on the chemicals that you get here. Because when you're talking about doing something at scale, you have to make sure that you've got a continuous availability of all these things. So if you don't have continuous availability of something, you have to adapt your product, you have to adapt your process. And that itself is an interesting process, and that is the part of my job that I have absolutely loved. It is constantly iterating, constantly improving, and enhancing. And if you see, there is we try and make sure that every project we do is better in some way than what we did before. So we try and make sure that we keep evolving and keep getting better at what we do.